This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in Glasgow. We're about 24 hours away. Josh Taylor's undisputed defence against Jack Catterall. I'm joined by the hardest man to get hold of in Glasgow, Ben Davison. Left it to Friday night.
Sorry, mate, but we've had preparation to take care of, and you've been messing about, haven't you?
You've been in about 1 million saunas, so...
Well, no, it's not that. It's I did them at the press conference, didn't I? And then obviously, you know, like I say, preparation and that comes first, doesn't it? So, but we're here now. So,
And it was a fiery Wayne. We know Josh is a fiery character, but Jack seemed up for it today as well, the Wayne.
yeah, I think it was, you know, don't know whether it was a nervous reaction or it was a plan to try and get into Josh's head. But to be honest, I think they've woken a sleeping giant. So, probably a bit of a mistake.
Why? What's he said to you, Josh?
He didn't say nothing, but I know through obviously working with Josh that things like that are going to motivate him, and that motivation, you know, those sorts of things bring out the best in him. So, yeah.
How do you think Jack's been in this build-up? We know Jack's quite a cool, calm customer. We know Josh likes to engage in fight week. We saw him, the gloves are off, trying to get Jack involved. I think from the outside looking in, apart from today, Jack really hasn't got involved in that kind of mental warfare. How do you assess Jack in this build-up?
I was thinking about this yesterday. It's all perception, isn't it? It's all perception. You know, they may take Josh acting a certain way in a certain manner, and we may take Jack acting a certain way in a certain manner. Really, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because when they get in the ring, that's what matters, what they do there. So, you know, before Ramirez, there was elements of us doing certain things to try and get a certain reaction out of Ramirez. But in reality, when he got in there, was that, you know, part of the mind games? You don't know. So what matters is what they do when they get in there in the ring.
Honestly, where would you assess Jack if Josh is to defend his titles on Saturday night in his resume? You've got Regis Prograis and Jose Ramirez as his standout wins. Baranchich is there as well. Where would Jack rank in Josh's CV?
Well, it's hard to say because at the minute he hasn't obviously boxed at that level. But as Jamie pointed out, it doesn't mean that he's not capable of. And we've prepared for Jack as though, you know, he's at this level and belongs at this level. And it's his job to go and prove that, of course. But, you know, he's got the chance of a lifetime. And any fighter in this situation, I'm sure is going to rise to the occasion and, you know, bring the best of him.
I was asking Jamie Moore, you know, how would you prepare to beat someone like Josh Taylor? I think he is one of the most complete fighters in the sport. You said the other day he is complete. So it must be a difficult task preparing for Josh Taylor. What about for Jack Catterall? How has it been preparing for him? We know he's quite an awkward customer, so in terms of sparring, etc., has that been a difficult task to prepare for Jack Catterall?
No, not overly, because you'll bring different guys in that bring different elements. You're not going to bring someone that's exactly the same as Jack, but you'll bring someone in that's got different elements that and traits that Jack has, of course, and that's part of preparation. Yeah, I do feel like Josh is a complete fighter. Of course, there's always room for improvement with fighters, but he's massive for the weight, strong, can punch hard. He's extremely fast. Like, have you ever seen someone so big for a weight yet so fast? Can fight inside, can box at distance, and you know, he's an extremely well-rounded fighter, and he sticks to his plans, and sticks to the game plans, and he's as close to as unbeatable in the weight division as you're going to get.
It'd be a difficult task if you're in the opposite corner, wouldn't it? Preparing for Josh Taylor and trying to beat him.
Yeah, for sure. Look, but the reality is, and this is part of boxing, that anything can happen in boxing. And Jack can punch. I think Jack's a better puncher than what his record suggests, and that has to be respected. I think his skills are better than, you know, the reality is that the odds are ridiculous, and the expectation that's on Josh to blow Jack away is high, and that's sort of what people were expecting. But you know, we respect Jack. We like Jack. We respect Jack. We like Jamie and Nigel and the team and respect them, and we've prepared for them, you know, properly, professionally, and it's a job that we've got to take care of tomorrow.
That is the job tomorrow. Speaking to Adam Smith, of course, Sky Sports are now backing Josh Taylor, and he was making a comparison to Carl Froch, where he said, when Carl joined Sky for the second time, he wasn't really actually known, but he felt like that was Britain's best fighter. And I think it's a similar situation with Josh. Obviously, Tyson's in the argument to be Britain's best fighter, but because he's done everything so quick, 18 fights, become undisputed, and he hasn't had a major broadcaster backing him yet in terms of a deal, but now he's got Sky backing him. He's got the potential to become shortly a pay-per-view star, Ben.
Yeah, definitely, and like you said, he's achieved all what he's achieved in 18 fights, and that's been over the last few fights that it's already happened. So it's all coming to fruition now, and it just adds pressure, which I'm an advocate for Josh to put a performance on tomorrow night. And this, on a platform like Sky, this is the first steps to him becoming that superstar.
Okay, well, listen, go well with the Titan Tornado tomorrow night. Just quickly, because it's brief, quickly run through who you've got on. So, like the likes of Dickinson, the McCormacks, Royston. Just give me the schedule quickly.
We've got Josh tomorrow night, Leewood, March 12th. March 18th, got Shabazz in Dubai. March 19th, got Royston, Barney Smith in London. The week after that, on the 25th, we've got Pat McCormack making his debut. We've got Mark Dickinson also on that card. And the night after that, we've got Chris Congo and Jamie Chikiva, obviously with Barry, on the night after that.
Well, that's just blown my mind. And you just read out the schedule just for March. So how do you manage that?
After that, April 22nd, we got Luke McCormack making his debut and Will Cawley on that card as well. And then, God willing, the fight comes off. June the 4th, we've got, if it comes off, Devin Haney and George Kambosos. How do we manage that? Long days in the gym, getting at 7, finish at 7/8 o'clock. And it takes work, but at the minute, Josh has got his wedding and things like that this year, so he probably won't be out again until the end of the year. So obviously that takes away a bit of time. Then the ones that are coming through, they're active, they're in the gym, they're keeping active, so they're going to be busy this year, so they'll need a lot of time. So it's just about being organised, being smart, and having a team, which I'm grateful for.
So I'm guessing your gypsy licence has been renewed with Royston.
Yeah, still got the gypsy licence. Paid my fee last week, actually. So yeah.
Let me get your reaction to tonight's news, please, Ben. That Fury Whyte is official. A lot of confusion whether the fight was actually going to take place. Wembley Stadium, April 23rd. How do you think that fight plays out? Does it all depend on how Tyson approaches that fight? And how do you think he will approach the fight against Dillian Whyte?
I don't know. I think he'll probably start the fight as an orthodox. He won't want to give Dillian Whyte any momentum or any confidence early on in the fight, and then potentially switch to southpaw depending on how the fight's going, and he'll assess from there, I imagine. The build-up could be interesting. I know everybody's thinking, what a build-up it'll be, but Dillian Whyte with a silent treatment at a minute, maybe it won't be. So it's hard to say.
So you think at one point Tyson will go southpaw in that fight, like he did against Derek in a rematch?
Potentially. I think at some point he'll switch to southpaw, and whether it's for a spell just to assess and see how Dillian adjusts to that. But we'll have to wait and see.
Tyson made some comments to me a couple of weeks ago saying that Deontay Wilder, Vladimir Klitschko, Otto Wallin, Derek Chisora, and I think he said Steve Cunningham would all rank above a win in terms of Dillian Whyte. So it'd be like the 6th best name on his CV. What do you think about that? And do you go along with that?
It depends, doesn't it? I think
who would you rate above Whyte?
It's hard for me to say. I think that Steve Cunningham and Otto Wallin are in there Not so much because of, well, Steve Cunningham's different, you know, achieved a hell of a lot. Otto Wallin's probably in there more based on the style matchup, because you can get someone who's achieved more, a bigger name, and people think, oh, he's a better fighter, but the style matchup may suit and makes it an easier fight for that fighter, being Tyson. Or it might come across someone who's maybe not as recognised as a good fighter, probably not so much respect on their name. However, it's a difficult style matchup, and you always hear it, styles make fights, and it's so true.
Okay, we look forward to April 23rd. Last point of this interview, just want to go back to last week, Sky Sports box office. We saw Amir Khan lose to Kell Brook. Firstly, just get your thoughts on Amir's loss and Kell's win, and then also, second part to this question, should both men retire? As a fan, in your opinion.
Yeah, I know Kell, and, you know, it was over the moon for him to get that big win in his career that he'd always been chasing, so I'm happy for him there. And what a way to achieve that victory. Second part on Kell, to your question, who am I to say whether he should retire or not, but has there ever been a fighter that would go out and leave the sport on such a win? Not so much the magnitude of the win, but someone that's chased that fight for 15 years, or whatever it may be, somewhere around that time frame. Chased that fight for such a long period of time, and then to get the win the victory in that manner, what a way to leave the sport, you know.
I don't think there has been something like that.
No, probably not.
Years.
Ridiculous. As for Amir, you know, I don't know Amir. I've seen him, spoke to him, and I know of the work that he's done in the community and things for charity and that, so I've got a lot of respect for him, and potentially probably knew that maybe he was far from his best and his prime days before getting into the ring. However, got into the ring and, you know, went about the fight a proud man, never once looked to get a way out, even though the fight wasn't going his way. And you can only respect that, the way he handled the defeat after the fight. Just pure admiration. That's all you can do is admire that. So full respect to Amir Khan. I'd love to see him call it a day. What he's achieved in the sport has been, you know, second to none from the UK, in my opinion. When you take into consideration how quickly he was moved as well in his career after winning silver medal in Athens. So, yeah, so much respect for him, and, you know, something for all fighters to admire, the way he handled that fight last weekend.
Ben Davison, thank you very much for your time on IFL TV. Go well with Josh tomorrow, and still.
And still.
Okay, thank you very much.